Did it. Did it, did it, did it, did. Good evening and welcome along to the Talkin Kop of Monday night. We're out of football season. No football is taking place for over a week now at this stage. There's nothing going on in the world, so we're here to have the chats of a Monday night. Gav has come up with an interesting agenda to deal with the new manager, Slot from the Goonies, who's taken over on Saturday, June the 1st, which was much speculated by ourselves in this show that nothing would happen until June the 1st, because that's when Edwards gets his job. That's when Richard Hughes gets his job officially. That's when Duncan from Dumfries, he gets his job as well as Richard Hughes' bestie bud. That's when all the lads who they've signed up, the Portuguese fella, he gets a job as well on June the 1st. And everyone's getting the job on June the 1st, so everyone's going to be knocking out on Saturday. Fella? Yeah.
Is that?
Yep. He's now the new head of, he's the CEO of developing footballs for FSG in Roundy Shape.
Him, I remember him, yeah. He won't be bothered with us. They have looked after a fella called Peters, who straight away I thought, isn't that a left back to play for Stoke? I don't think it is him. Or
there was Dr. Peters, who's the mental fella. He fixed
he wasn't mental. He worked on the mental side of things. Like, he wasn't going around as a mental doctor.
He's a mentalist. He's like, do you remember your man? He was basically, what was his name? The Irish fella that was famous for 11 minutes. At the same time, Dynamite was famous.
Tony Quinn.
No.
The fella on the beach that thought he found the crater, but it turned out it was
No. This is your man, Keith something or other. He said he was a mentalist.
Oh yeah, he had a show. TV show.
Do you remember?
Oh yeah,
it's when magicians stopped saying they were magicians and started calling themselves different names because they just didn't.
And putting themselves in glass boxes and stuff like that, and dropping themselves in rivers and
they're illusionists and mentalists. And Keith Mentalist, that was his name. Right?
They do a close up zoom.
He was up until
Keith Barry. That's his name.
That's just Johnny work with us here. So he used to be called Keith the Magician to all the kids and stuff when he was starting becoming famous, and then when he became famous, bit like I remember when Andy Cole changed to Andrew Cole because he didn't want to be called Andy Cole anymore.
Keith Barry
stopped being Keith the Magician and became Keith the Mentalist.
Keith Barry, of course, not to be confused with the radio DJ who used to host the talk shows, and what was his name? Chris Barry. Chris Barry. Yeah,
who was brilliant.
Cousin. That was Chris Barry was a mentalist because he used to get people to pretend that they wanted to dial in and just say some mad stuff and come on the show. Not that I'd know anything about this, right?
Yeah. You would have been perfect for that. Ashley says Pedro.
I've Tom from Crumlin here. What do you think, Tom? I think you are stone mad that we should be going around setting fires to all the cars.
Yeah,
that's the only way to get new car.
That was the crack. Oh my god, I get so much fucking people giving out now because we're not talking about football and we're like 4 minutes in.
What did they expect? It's like there's no football on. It's Monday night. There's no football
purgatory. I'm calling it until football's back for me on Saturday. It's back. One Saturday comes. It's back.
I had a fantastic weekend. Weekend of sports viewing. Yep.
It was not, and I can tell you, it was nothing to do with the FA Cup final, the Championship playoff final, the Scottish Cup final, Leinster rugby. None of these things figured. It was definitely fellas punching the hell out of each other with dumbbells or
pillowcases.
Like
pillowcases. I sent it to you. There was the pillowcase fighting championship. Right?
And do you know what's happening now? Do you know what's happening now? Every fucking prick that comes across a weird sport, right, just keeps messaging me going, show that to Phil. So every weird sport that's out there, people just keep, instead of looking you up and going, let me find Phil Casey because I have information for him, you just go, no, I just contact Gav. He's doing fuck all, right? And their little mind, I'm doing nothing all day. You know, just pass on to Phil. I'm like your secretary.
But Gav, that's because they know that I'm off on the bike somewhere. So they have to, they can't get me on but they want to disturb me when I'm off doing the bikes. And just do. Anyway, the bikes was what I was watching the weekend. I was watching Tadej Pogacar. He's absolutely he should be in. If we were going to do our greatest in a couple of years' time, he's going to be in there. Fella is different gravy. He won his Giro. First time he's ever tried the Giro d'Italia.
I seen a bike race going by me.
Did you? Yeah.
Yeah, just there. Yeah.
Good man.
And
that was the Ross Talkin you were watching.
Yeah, loads of people, stewards standing out with little red triangular flags waving them. And then there was more cars in the race than there was bikes.
That's because the cars carry the extra bikes for them to go. I've been listening.
Yeah, but
and I
about
sent-
75 estate cars went by me, right? And not
Did I
only
send you on the link to that podcast I've been listening to, which is actually brilliant, and I recommend because it's not football season. I recommend anyone to listen to it. It's called The Ghost in the Machine. It's an investigative podcast into mechanical doping in cycling. So there's always been rumors that people have had little
what,
engines or little motors.
hold on, is this like fucking performance enhanced cogs on the bikes?
Performance enhanced bikes. So basically, they have little engines in the bike somewhere, right, to make them go faster.
For
And
fuck's sake.
because it's not them full of drugs, it's the bike. It's a bit like, remember when Cian O'Connor got his horse full of drugs,
Yeah,
right, to win the gold medal in the Olympics.
absolutely malavogue on it.
So there's been rumours the likes of Fabian Cancellara, even Wout van Aert, Chris Froome, they are all have been accused of mechanical doping at some stage, but it's never been proven. The only person that's ever been proven in pro cycling is Femke van den Driesche, who was an under-23 cyclocross.
He had what did he have? He had a Honda 50 engine strapped to the back of the bike.
It was a girl in the under-23 women's UCI cyclocross championship. And hang on.
She had alarm horn engine strapped
They
to the
happened
back
to catch her. Gav, now you like this. They happened to catch her on the first day they ever introduced a test for engines in a bike, and they've never caught a pro cyclist ever again since then.
Fuck's sake. That sounds like they turned up to a race, right? And they turned up a couple of days earlier, having a few gargles in the bar, and they went, do you know what we'll do? We'll come up, right? We'll come up, and it sounds very similar to a podcast me and Keith Plunker were discussing starting, and I can't mention it because it wouldn't be fit for there. But it sounds like they turned up and had a few gargles and went, do you know what we'll do? We'll write this into law tomorrow, and by the next day, we'll be checking for engines on bikes, right? Because they're locked, right? And the next day, they turn up, and it turns out some board has an engine on our bike.
Well, this is the whole thing. The whole thing stems around this, and is the potential useful now? And because obviously an engine in a bike would be worse than just a fella on drugs on a bike, right? Because it just, what's the point? You might as well just have motor racing as opposed to cycling, right? So this is why it's such a big thing. Fascinating. Anyway, the ghost in the machine.
Before you do, Paul Giovanni's asked a question that really interests me, so I want to answer it. He says, off topic, have you tried the new Callaway AI smoke drivers? The new driver, of course, from Callaway. Jesus, they're insane. I've tried them all, and I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt.
Did all the weights, tried them all.
The two best drivers of 2024 by a country fucking mile are the Ping G430 and the Cobra Dark Speed. They're the two best drivers of 2024. Without a shadow of a doubt. Thanks for calling in, Paul. Anyway, Phil. Go on.
Kev O'Sullivan's trying to be funny. I told you, Kev, do you keep just being talking about sensible?
He was talking about wrestling ball earlier. Have you heard of wrestling ball?
There's so many sports, Gav, they're all starting
It's
to merge
something to
into
do with you're only allowed near the
one
ball if you
sport.
take your top off and fight someone. But it's a
Yeah,
ball
and
game.
then there's also the remember the fight in basketball they have in Russia, where it's full contact basketball.
Yeah.
So fellas going up to slam dunk, you just clothesline them. I think that's what he's talking about.
Yeah. Okay.
It's
Maybe I'm
dangerous.
going to look up wrestling ball.
And and crazy.
Come on, quick round of football. We're 8 minutes 38 in here.
8 minutes 38 in. I haven't given. I just
At
want
least
to ask
11 complaints incoming.
just before we get onto the topic of the football, and that's not happening at the moment, right? Where was my invite for Liverpool?
So what? Phil,
There was pictures all over the shop. Pictures all over the shop. Talking about, here's all the great lads that do the podcast for me all year long.
I never said anything about any lads that do the podcast.
Isn't it great
I just
that
said...
we're all...
Don't be telling lies. Don't be telling lies. There was one photo put up and it said the end of season crew.
Time, all of us.
You wouldn't go. That's the first. That's the one and only point.
You never asked me.
You would never in a million years go.
No Phil's Club. I felt like Homer Simpson.
Phil, would you like to travel to Liverpool? Hey, no interest in Liverpool. To watch a game of football? Don't like football. Do you want to go? No. So what's the point?
How would you know if you didn't
I'll tell you what, I'm asking you now, would you like to come to Liverpool with me next year, Phil, at the end of the season?
I'd love to go to Liverpool.
Right.
Can we bring Matthew with us?
Now listen, there's loads of people.
Matthew,
Hold on.
Can Matthew come?
There's loads, there's loads of people now that are witness to this, right?
Yep.
Mark it, 22:14 p.m.
Yep.
On the 27th of May 2024, I've asked Phil to go to Liverpool in May 25. There's not a fucking hope he'll go. But anyway.
Do you know how much I was upset? Because like it stopped me on my 175-kilometer cycle just to stop me. Well, it was
Why?
173.16 to make sure it was a new world record. It would just stop me dead, going, can't believe I wasn't asked. I felt really sad for a second.
There's no point in asking you. It's like you ringing me going, come here, would you like to go and watch the gymnastics that's on in the National Arena on Saturday? I go, no. There's no way. Like, think of something that I would never go to, and then say to yourself, "Will I ask him?" It's just no point.
Well,
no
interesting,
point.
Pete, because Pete knows this because we grew up together. I did gymnastics as a kid.
Oh, of course you did.
So I'm out at the weekend. This is true, right? So I'm out at the weekend, and I can still do, like, obviously not do what I used to be able to do when I was doing gymnastics. But I've daughters, you've daughters as well, Gav, so they all love cartwheels and stuff like this. So I was getting annoyed, right? So they couldn't do decent ones. So I was just in the park and I got annoyed. I said, that's not a cartwheel. So I did a cartwheel for them, and then I started doing handstands, right? So today I'm picking up from school, and the talk of the yard is I walk up, I'm in like the short and trousers. Dad, you have to do a cartwheel for everyone.
Fuck that.
Cartwheel.
Fuck that. Anyway, you didn't miss much apart from Matt travelling from Canada to set his hair on fire in a pub.
Wow.
Yeah, it was fantastic. Other than that,
Ray Dicko said he was upset as well that you didn't recognize.
Well, Ray Dicko, funny enough, right? I'm sitting
licking sink.
Yeah, I'm sitting. Well, I'm sitting in this place on the Sunday night having going to get something to eat. Yeah, it's one of these places you go up and you have to get your own drink and stuff like that, and you bring the food to the table. So it goes up and gets the drink, sits back down, and next time I'm sitting down, Ray Dicko goes, "All right, what's the story?" And I was like, "All right, Ray," and he goes, and I goes, "Where were you?" And he goes, "Oh no, I'm going home." He said, "I'm getting a late flight." So best of luck, how's the baby, stuff like that, all good. And he heads off, and Keith says to me, he's sitting there 10 minutes eating his food with all of us around him and hadn't a brace who we were.
Didn't even he's like, no. He says, Phil, I sat down and I was like, that looks like your man Matt, because he recognised the long hair, right? The Canadian fella. And then he was like, that looks like Keith and Gav. He says, but none of them want to talk to me, so I'm just going to say,
I didn't even notice him. It was like six of us sitting at a table, and then there was like a gap in the bench.
No
and then another table.
No Fields Club, no Ray Dicko's Club.
Dicko didn't tell me he was going. Dicko's always over there. Dicko didn't invite me. Didn't even invite me to the bleeding KFC, didn't he? Went to sneak in on his own.
Pete, they wouldn't have talked to you either. You would have been just ostracised. They wouldn't have recognised you because the lights would have been on.
It's open to anyone to go, but listen, come here and I tell you. Here's one rule, right? I won't organise any of this, right? I go to every last home game of the season. Anyone wants to go, they can go. But I'm me bollocks, ringing people. Are you going? No, I don't know. I'll let you know. I'll give you a shout. No, me fucking bollocks now. I just book it and I go. And if people go with me, they go with me. I'm going on my own next year. Focus.
That's the matter. So let's go on. So this evening, Arne Slot takes over on Saturday, on June the 1st, as we said. And we want to talk tonight about expectations and what he has to do or what he doesn't have to do as he takes over the job, as we look on from afar, and our expectations and what it should be. So, Gav, I know you had a number of things that you wanted to cover off, but I want to sort of throw one at you to start this whole thing off, right? So, Gav, you said, what does Slot need to do? How does he get the fans on side? What decisions has he got to make on fringe players? Contracts? Do we see him exiting anyone, doing any surprise exits? And what's his transfer target?
Yeah,
I say to you, Gav, right? The fact that he's only a head coach and not the manager, the vast majority, bar getting the fans on side, the vast majority, the other four things you have there, he has only a small percentage input into what the club's going to do. And actually, those decisions that you have there is more to do with Richard Hughes now as the sporting director of the club, or the football director of the club, than it does necessarily Arne Slot. He's brought in to maximise the squad and the squad that's going to be prepared. So I think the question from my point of view is, who does he identify to the management structure that he needs to change to make this team fit his style or stylistically better than what he has there at the moment? And then, to your point, what decisions are being made now above in totality as they did? Because it was more or less the same setup they had when Klopp came in. The only difference was there'd been this huge sort of dichotomy and tension between the transfer committee and Brendan Rodgers until Klopp comes in. Well, that doesn't exist as to what it was before. So that's my preface is, I think that's the real question here. and it's more a group decision and a group think here than it would be just one particular character, which is Arne Slot. I know the fans will want to do, well, this is what Slot's going to do or whatever it is, but I think the reality is, and what's been put out there in all the articles, is that this is a group think mentality that they've reinstalled into the club.
Yeah, look, it'll. You could be verging on the whole transfer committee thing again, couldn't you, when you think of this group mentality? And I'm just not ready for that. You know what I mean? Emotionally, I'm not ready for Liverpool to start using the words transfer committee. Do you know what? I was thinking about it over the weekend when we were putting the shows together for the week, and I was kind of thinking to myself, he takes over on June the 4th. Now, you probably won't. You'll see some media, I would suggest, over the weekend, but you mightn't see something till Monday or Tuesday when he might do a press conference. I don't know. I don't know the schedule or what Liverpool are going to do. But it got me thinking about, so much was made of the Klopp first press conference, the normal one. And, without kind of that Klopp shadow hanging over him, people are going to want to see what his personality is like when he gets into England, how he's going to talk about the club, how he's going to talk about Klopp, because he's definitely going to be asked about him. And I think how he comes across, it doesn't sound like a huge thing, but I think it is a huge thing. I think it is big. There's a lot of Liverpool fans out there that don't know an awful lot about Arne Slot, me included. So I'm dying to see him. How does he speak? What way? How confident does he look? Because all right, he's the manager of AZ Alkmaar. He's been the manager of Feyenoord, but this is levels above that. And I'm not saying I'd be worried, but I'd be kind of going, Jesus, he looks a bit small in that chair. Do you know what I mean? When he does this thing. So that was one of the things I wanted to talk about. And I'm sure we get on to it. And you're right. The way they've done this for me is, it's all about how smooth this transition is for me. That's the thing that stood out for me massively. And I think the fact that he's head coach, I don't think it's a slight on him. He could have been made manager of Liverpool Football Club, because, like you said, the structure above him is very much the same as the structure that was there when Klopp arrived. There's probably an extra few bodies, in fairness, but that's due to looking to buy different clubs around the world and stuff like that. But I think they're trying to make it as smooth as they can in appointing him and the style he is. But they're also trying to downplay the pressure on him, because the man after the man sort of thing is huge. And by making him head coach, it basically says, look, he isn't the man that's going to be everything on his shoulders, but he's definitely going to have an input. There's no doubt about it. He's definitely going to have an input. And it just got me thinking, what do we want to see from the first interview? Because there will be an interview, obviously, alongside the press conference. What decisions has he to make on fringe players? What decisions is there possible exits that we don't expect? Who would he like to bring in? Because he will want to make his mark. He will want to come in and go, listen, I'd like this and I'd like this. And I just wanted to kind of cover all them as we went along. But I think you're dead right. I think it is, a kind of collective that are going to make decisions here. But it's going to be, when you actually break it down, the collective is probably, Arne Slot and his director of football, because as much as me being made out of Michael Edwards is ranked way above where he was the last time. So when you break it down, there's a couple of chief scouts, there's Arne Slot and there's Richard Hughes, and I think they're trying to not deflect, but they're trying to soften the pressure on all these people coming in, because following what Klopp's done and following how the club have been ran over the last 8, 9, 10 years, it's no easy feat. It's no easy feat to follow it.
Pete?
Yeah, I kind of go along with that, but I mean, all the fans that everybody's sitting there wondering what big name or what kind of interesting name is going to replace. Again, Liverpool do it, work the way they work. All the speculation bodies are out trying to hook up the next Brazilian to Liverpool. I've given up trying to predict the way this club does things. You see patterns in the way they appoint people behind the scenes, people on the up and up. I mean, I always contrast what we do against what a failing club like Manchester United do. And they look at the body of work that you did in the past, and they tend to take people into the club with no hunger. It's another hungry appointment. This man has obviously proved himself at a certain level, and now will be hungry to prove himself on that upward trajectory. I mean, I used to think, like everybody else, bring in proven quality. You look at sometimes when clubs bring in people that are proven, in inverted commas, and the hunger is just not there, and it just falls apart. Again, we might be a stepping stone, to Real Madrid or Barcelona again for a man like this. You don't know until you see what the caliber of the man is. But I don't care if that puts more trophies in the bank again. I like the way we're run. I like the fact that you can't predict, and it's always people coming into the club on that upward trajectory. And I just think it's another. And I'm glad I don't know anything. Years ago, Phil, you and I used to watch Dutch football. We'd watch Spanish football on the old Sky channel, and we'd know everything. We'd know why this person was. Now I'm kind of looking at it going, okay, Ajax have fallen a little bit, and he seems to have punched above his weight wherever he's been. And again, it's that deliberateness that Liverpool are trying to bring in people who are continuously fighting and seem to have that mentality of what I have today is not enough. And to be honest with you, I look at other clubs bringing in people. Like the flagship for that kind of appointment is signing a player like Raphael Varane, for example, at Manchester United. Everybody could see that Hunger wasn't going to be there, and by the way, he wasn't going to be available for the games. The trophies were already in his back pocket. Why on earth you would bring someone like that? And you can say that for a few managers that have been appointed across certain leagues. But again, it's another hungry appointment. Richard Hughes, a good point. Hungry to prove himself, on the next rung of the ladder. And if we're not the final rung of the ladder, so be it. We'll just bring in somebody else who is on that upward trajectory. And to be honest, that's why I'm happy with what the club has run because of that.
But the only thing that Pete on that, we've become a destination club as far as I'm concerned, right? And this is the big thing. It took us a lot. It took us until the Klopp bit gets here to stop being a stepping stone club and become a destination club. I think the biggest spanner in this whole piece at the moment is the unchecked and unbalanced dominance that Manchester City has been allowed to have by both the Premier League and whoever's in charge of the English government system, because they're terrified of breaking relationships, obviously, across overseas. And for that reason, I think that's probably the biggest barrier that not just Liverpool have, but everybody else has to attracting the Mbappes, whatever it is, right? Because they can be outbid. For a start, they can be outbid if City are interested in the player. And two, the players are going to ask themselves, well, is there a proper level of competition here? Do you know what I mean? Like, no matter what teams do, what's the last 7 leagues, only one is being won by a team that's not Manchester City. And that's us having a near pair. And I'm telling you, a perfect season. Like, this is, lads, let's be honest about this. This is basically winning from match 1 to almost match 23, right? To put the nail in the coffin. That was the first time they've ever said, but we can't catch this. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you think about it, every other league title, they've gotten to March within sniffing distance of what has gone on, and they've gone on and overcome the team that's in front of them into April and then into May and won the league title at the end. So I think the biggest challenge they have is, and I can understand in a way that Edwards wants Hughes to go back to this belief of outperforming the talent that's there and identifying the talent in the earlier stage. And if it starts with identifying a manager, so if you take the Jurgen Klopp appointment, right, he's already gone from Mainz to Borussia Dortmund and taken Borussia Dortmund to a Champions League, right? I guess what they're trying to do is, well, can we find the Jurgen Klopp before he gets to Borussia Dortmund, right? Within reason. And I guess can we get back to identifying the Sadio Manes, the Mo Salahs, and not having to go out and buy the guys who look finished. Do you know what I mean? With the exception of Alisson, and I think you always have to make an exception on the goalkeeping side. I don't believe in. I think some of the young lads are good, but like, you need to have a fella who's established to put in there if you really want to make a difference. But with the exception of, say, Van Dijk and Alisson, the rest were in that first wave of Klopp's teams that he built were guys that they brought in to become world-class players.
The trajectory.
Yeah, that's what you want to get. That's what I think what they want to get back to, because that's probably where they're seeing the maximum value in the whole Klopp reign. And to be fair, even when they went there, the signings that they made last year, McAllister, great value signing in terms of what it is. But again, a player that's on that part of his trajectory in terms of where he can get to. Gravenberch, he was a bit up and downy, but you can see the natural talent that exists in terms of what's there. You've got I know Endo is an older bloomer, but to me, he's a great value boy. He's the type of boy that if we bought that in the first wave, we're talking about a great pickup. You've got Szoboszlai. He had a great first half of the season. I thought he had a really poor second half of the season. But again, what's he, 23? You know what I mean? These are players that are
We touched on that last night, though, on Szoboszlai. We were saying, look, when you look at the average amount of games he plays, when he was in, was it Austria first and then Germany, he puts so much into that first 3 or 4 months of the season, and usually, I think he ran more than someone was saying to us today. He ran more in the first 3 months of that season than he'd done nearly over an entire season in Germany, and then he didn't get a break and stuff like that. But you have to make allowances for these things as well. And whether it's Szoboszlai or Gravenberch, or even if you look at Elliott or any of them, so you have to make an allowance for these lads will drop form or they get an injury and it takes a little while to get back.
Yep.
But just on what you were saying there about the first wave, right, of signings and finding that Mane and finding that Salah, I think they've kind of kept that up, but it's just inflation has gone through the fucking roof.
Maybe.
Maybe Darwin Nunez at £64 million is, but that's a bit of a one where they feel like he's on a huge trajectory and they have to pay that sort of money. But even Gravenberch, I don't think Liverpool signed Gravenberch if he has 2 great seasons or 18 great months at Bayern Munich. I think they see an opportunity and went, do you know what? Wherever it was, 25, 30 million, wherever it is, and they went and done it. Cody Gakpo was on that trajectory and they go and do it. So when you actually look through it, there's not an awful lot of players where you go, they went and they got him when he was like 80% of that trajectory and they paid fucking monstrous money for him, because they haven't. Konate's the same. Konate was £34 million, on a huge trajectory. So when you look at them all, that wave has just been in 2 waves, but it hasn't really changed. And that's why I think when you look at people thinking, oh, they're going to look for their value and their money, they always have. There's not going to be a huge change in that. People are, like, I've seen people where they feel like, Liverpool are going to go from signing fellas from 35 million, now it's all going to be £15 million signings now. Simply not true. It's just
there's no £50 million signings anymore for anyone that's in the top half of the Premier League. It's that
exactly
simple. Unless there's a buyout clause, it's not happening.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When Liverpool come calling, you know yourself. You know the rest.
So what does Pete in that then? And I think it's the one valid question that sits around Slot then is, what does he have to do to get the fans on side and buy himself that time? To Gav's point, in coming in, right? What do you want to hear from him in this first press conference as Liverpool manager that you take, right? He gets it. He knows what he's doing. He knows.
And we are just going to call him the manager, aren't we? We're not going to go head coach.
Yeah. Let's not even just deal with that. I think
I'm going to call him head coach next season just to piss everyone off.
Hindsight is always 20/20, Phil. And the last time a great left the club, a true great, and another fella came in and he decided to dismantle the whole thing. I hope he sits down and has a look at what happened under Graham Souness, to be honest with you, at how easy it is to destroy something that's doing well. If he doesn't bring his ego to it, and it's not about the Slot show, and he understands that he's a small part of something great, just exactly how Klopp did. I'm not asking anyone to do an impression of Klopp, or nobody should be. And of course, you have your right to put your marker down. But this whole idea is of, okay, I'm going to show Van Dijk the door. I'm going to show Salah the door. I'm going to do this my way. The minute somebody comes in singing my way, it's a bad sign. So I can't see that. He wouldn't have gotten through his interview if that was the case, because Liverpool would have learned their lesson. That it just doesn't happen. I mean, there are small things to tweak in that squad.
But Pete, I think you need to sort of park that, because he doesn't have that power. So let's come back to, what do you want, rather than what are you worried about, right? What do you want to hear from him? What do you want his approach to be to in that first press conference? What is it that makes you feel that he gets it and he knows what he wants out of this team and how he's going to get there, essentially?
Yeah, just humility, to be honest with you. His approach should be humble, and should be the fact that he should recognise the fact that an awful lot of work was done in the transition between what happened with Brendan and obviously what happened with Jurgen, and not to be trying to reinvent the wheel. You don't want someone coming in with, I've got a new idea, guys, and it's gonna completely take us to another level. No, it should be about stability and continuity, to be honest, and acknowledgement of the fact that a great structure is in place. And I think it would be good to acknowledge the fact that Jurgen's announcement, whereas it wasn't absolutely shocking, it was shocking in terms of momentum. That sometimes people can run out of steam. It doesn't mean that their ideas have become stale. Just people as human beings run out of steam. And if it was me, I'd be saying, listen, I'd like to think I've been selected for this role because there are similarities between me, style-wise, even personality-wise, and the way I approach the game, and somebody as great as Jurgen Klopp. I don't want to see someone coming in and saying, right, everything stops now, and I'm going to recreate this in my own image. Continuity is what I'd like to see, to be quite honest. So the message should be: listen, we are probably, and I'd like to see a little bit of honesty. We're probably, bar some bad finishing. If I'm being honest, if you look at even our game statistically, he should acknowledge that we were never blown out of the water by anyone. We were probably in the games that we lost, the Palace game, the game that we drew at Manchester United, we were probably bad finishing away from absolutely stomping our feet all over this league. So there's nothing broken, but a little bit of completing, finishing, a little bit of getting us across the line. If it ain't broken, don't fix it. I'd like to see some humility and an eye on continuity, to be honest with you. If everybody doesn't want to see that, they need their head examined, to be honest.
Gav, what do you want to see?
To be honest with you, there's kind of two ways I want to see this. When it comes to the fans, I think Pete touched on something there. I think, if he comes in as Liverpool manager and he, I think the fans are looking for him to be big in the chair, ready. I'm not here, and I'm, I'm not the successor to Jurgen Klopp. This is me. I'm here, and I can call me wherever I want. That's what as a fan, I'm looking for that. I want to see someone that commands a room. The sort of way I want him. I don't want him to come in now cocky. You know what I mean? And I don't think he will. But I'd like him to come in and go. And when you look at him, and you take a first 5-minute look at him in the interview or the press conference, you go, yeah, you know what? He's able for this, and you can kind of tell off people straight away. Do you know what I mean? Like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer wouldn't park in the parking spot because Alex Ferguson and all this shit, like mad stuff. Do you know what I mean? You see managers come in and they just disintegrate in front of you in the first 20 minutes of press conferences, and they're kind of they're plumazing everybody for the sake of plumazing them. As a fan, I want to see him come in and go. Humility is correct. He will acknowledge Jurgen Klopp. He will acknowledge the job he's done. But I want him to be up there. From the other side of it, though, I want to see him being, and I think it's important for him. He needs to nail these fucking media pricks very early, right? For the simple reason is they didn't get a sniff off Jurgen Klopp. I think it was you that said to me a couple of weeks, Phil, a few weeks ago. Even when it got bad, they never went after him. Because he laughed at them, or else he just shot them fucking down. And they're probably looking, going, 9 years, brilliant. Klopp was great for the cameras, he was great for the written press, he was great for the clips. He was a great laugh. But now we get our own back. Now we'll bear down on this fella. And I'd love him to put them in that place very fucking quick. And he done it in Holland a couple of weeks ago. He was asked the question, where were you on that kind of break in between fixtures? Were you in Liverpool? And he said, do you think I was in Liverpool? Where where I was. You know what I mean? And he kind of nailed this fella really quickly. And that's what I'd like to see from him. Because I think that does two things. One, sets out a stall very early. But two, that endears you to Liverpool fans straight away. He's not taking no shite off nobody. And he won't let this club be pushed around by anyone. And that's why, do you remember when Dalglish came back? I didn't like Dalglish coming back. I didn't like going backwards. But the one thing Dalglish always done was he stood up for the club. And he wouldn't let you say a word against us. And maybe at times he was wrong in that. But he was always committed to going, no, this is Liverpool Football Club. You don't mess with us. And that's what I'd like to see from him in the press conference. I want to see him being, to show the fans that I'm ready for this, to give off that aura, to be a bit of humility when it comes to Klopp, because he will get asked about it. But I'd actually like for a smart question to be asked of him in the first press conference from someone brave enough to do it. And I'd love him to go, bang, I'm going to nail you first day. And that's how it's going to go from here on in, whether I'm here for 1, 3 or fucking 10 years. That's what I'd like him to do.
For me, I want him to turn up, and I want him to have the most Dutch accent I've ever heard in my life. That's what I want. I know, that's what, yeah, I want him to come in and be Steve McLaren. I want him to put on a Dutch accent.
We should get Steve McLaren to sit beside him and translate.
Yeah, and translate
into English, but with that Dutch twang.
Yeah. So if we could get somebody to sit there and translate, and from to have, I want them to take all the worst parts of new manager interviews ever, from a tube ticket, right? Do you remember your man Christian Gross with his
Oh yeah,
tube ticket at
yeah,
Spurs?
yeah.
Get a picture of Terry Venables, rest in peace. Get a life-size cover of Terry Venables, and just have him sort of sticking in with his head just sticking in from the side, so it's in
He's
the camera
involved,
view,
but he's
right?
not involved. But he really
He's not
is
involved.
involved. Yeah,
Just like that.
Yeah.
Sticking in. Steve McLaren doing a bit of interpretation, even though he doesn't need to interpret, but just turning perfect English back into Dutch English, if you know.
Yeah.
We all get
Why
it, right?
you here, Steve? I'm here to translate. But
For
he's
sure, I'm
speaking
here to
perfect
translate
English,
for you.
Steve.
Yeah.
Listen, fuck off behind me. I'm on an Ixer. Listen, go on, Arnie, keep going there, and I'll just keep fucking putting this mad stuff at the end of all the words. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
and then that's what I want. And I'd like him to say that he's in honor of Jurgen Klopp taking over. He's going to get a hair transplant as well, just to throw it in there, and he's getting his teeth done. And actually, give us a date as to when he's getting his teeth done, because Rodgers got his teeth done, Klopp got his teeth done. So I'd love to know. I want to know that the club has booked him in to get his teeth done for the start of the season.
I have
so
visions
of
of him looking like Austin Powers come August the 1st.
Yeah. Just so that we don't have to go through the 4 seasons without the teeth done, and in the second season he comes back and the
he
teeth
makes
is
it too
done,
obvious.
Right? So
he tries to sneak it into the thing, but it's too obvious.
But I do want to go full Conte, which is not get a hair transplant in, say, the end of July. So to start off pre-season bald, but by the time the season starts, he has a full flown mane of hair.
No,
right?
I'll tell you what I'd love. Do you know when the boys go to Turkey and they come back and it looks like someone's got a big head and jabbed them in the head a million times, right? I wanted to be standing on the sideline of the first home game or first game of the season, everyone going, "What's the story with your head?" And he's going, "What are you talking about?"
What?
He's completely denied it. Completely fucking denied it. You know what I mean? And next thing, like 3 weeks later, he's doing Head and Shoulders ads because Joe Hart retired at the weekend.
Yeah.
You know, something like that. Like, I'm in for that. Yeah, I'm up for that.
Because I'm worth it, right? And it's just like, yeah. And as if we want to get a darts reference as well, if you throw that in as well, because he's Dutch and he's into the darts, right? And I honestly, the one thing that I do hope is he wears a pair of clogs to the interview, just so that
For fuck's sake.
And then saying, do you really wear clogs? What are you talking about? That's Steve.
Steve, what did he say there? Steve's there going, they're lovely. No.
For sure, we wear the clogs when we come over here to Liverpool.
It's McLaren fucking delighted with himself.
Big great. But in reality, I would now, to be honest with you, like there's not much. Just come in and have an air of confidence, right? Not arrogance, but that swagger of arrogance. Confidence with a swagger of arrogance, right? Not arrogant in terms of how it is, but to have that confidence, because I guess what everyone is waiting for is, what does this fella sound like? How does he approach it? How is he going to talk? How is he going to put himself out there? Because we've been so used to Klopp's pitch perfect English, jokes, all that type of stuff. If he has got a bit of a mad laugh, fine, right? Like, that'd be great. As Super Dizzle says, a windmill in the background as well, just ticking away.
As much Dutch stuff as you can get.
As much. I want
Marco van Basten on a screen,
a bright orange Nike T-shirt, right?
But Marco van Basten on a screen behind them, not doing anything, just sitting at home. They go, Marco, can you join us via video link? And they go, what do I have to say? Nothing. What
just be Dutch.
Absolutely nothing. Just sit there. Yeah, Marco van Basten.
Marco van Basten doing overhead kicks on a television screen in the background, right? Just doing it. Edam cheese, and also if you could wear a bright orange T-shirt, because we all know Dutch people only wear orange clothes, right? With a black Liverpool crest, but number 14 on the back for Johan Cruyff, because that's what everyone has to wear when you're wearing a Holland jersey, right? And that, to me, if he does that, we know we're in. We're in. This is taking off. Rockets.
Actually, let's be honest. If Arne Slot turns up in a press conference with Steve McLaren sitting beside him, right, Marco van Basten on the screen behind him, right, in a pair of clogs with a windmill playing in the background, we are truly fucked. Absolutely fucked.
In an orange
shit.
t-shirt.
Jesus Christ. And they'd be like, why did you do that? And we're like, wow, listen, we just feel like it's an untapped market. Holland. Holland. It's like one of the best known countries in the world. Everyone knows where, we don't sell many jerseys over there. Like, we just thought we'd really get into it. Like, you know what I mean? Richard Hill's in the corner, smoking duty-free smokes going, this is going great.
In fairness, I love the fact. I love the fact that he's come from Feyenoord and not from PSV or Ajax. So you'll get none of that Ajax Academy bullshit that you usually have to listen to, and none of the pedigree of winning bullshit that you do from PSV. It's all about, again, running uphill and trying to...
As Steve McLaren would say, PSV.
Exactly.
Remember Joey Barton taught French for a half an hour as well? Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Joey Barton thought if you just spoke in a French accent in English, people just think it was French. It was fucking great.
Up to that point, it was going well for him. He was playing well for them.
Yeah, and then he done that interview. But
do you not think it's impressive that they've managed to pull the fella from the Dutch national team ahead of the Euros as well? You know, is this Dr. Peters? And whichever fella they've appointed was also part of the Dutch national team, and he's actually packed in that job
42.
Yeah, he's packed in the job to come to Liverpool as the head of performance.
I think it's
do you not think though that one of the things they're probably looking at, but Pete, as part of this setup, do you not think that looking at the injuries that we had over the last few seasons, right, that there must be a big focus now on the injury prevention as opposed to injury cure, because that derailed the season.
But I think we talked about it a few times, Phil. Liverpool work in cycles. They go like a tornado for 18 months and then you pay the price. We remember this. The year we won it, and we won it, with those 23 games on the bounce, we were absolutely blitzing that. We were like pedigree horses. And then the next season, we were shot to bits. The next season, we'd been beaten. We were getting beaten by Aston Villa 17. The lads would just run out of steam. That happens. There's no... Klopp's style was very much... I mean, when he came... That's what I loved about Klopp. He said it and he meant it. This is going to be heavy metal. And what he meant was, listen, we're going to run the absolute Jesus out of everybody. And we're going to out everything, everyone. Outpass, outrun. But there's a price to that. There's a price. If you don't have 22 top players like Manchester City have, there's a price. And the price is... for about 6 or 7 months in 2 years, we're going to be nowhere. I think
his style though, and again, like I've never seen a manager game of football, and I'm never going to pretend that I did. And Anthony Coates, their game management needs to come back in a big way. I fully agree with that. But from people that have watched a bit of him, or gone and watched since he's been appointed, gone and watched stuff. They are kind of high tempo, but they like to keep a hold. They like to mind the ball an awful lot more than Liverpool do. So they're a bit more surgical, I suppose, in the way they try break teams down. Because Liverpool, at their height, we're very kind of boom. We are going to go straight at the heart of you. We're not going to fuck around here. Whereas from people talking to me about Feyenoord, they're saying, look, they are high tempo. They will try win the ball back, but every team tries to win the ball back now. Like, how many teams sit back now? You know what I mean? But when they get the ball, they take fewer risks because they like to keep hold of it. It's a possession-based game, but there's a high tempo to it. So, that'll surprise a few people, I think, when they see them playing. But against that, I think that helps you when it comes to injury prevention, because it's not all... I think, do you know what? I think that's why Arsenal have very few injuries, because Arsenal love to keep hold of the ball. They love to keep hold of the ball, and they will. Yeah, but they will play those extra 3-4 passes around the box till they find something, rather than us where we just go, there's a spot, we're going into it, and everyone has to barrel in. So, I think that style, it might surprise people, but it might help with the injury prevention.
So that's on that tip with him. So we want him to be confident with a bit of swagger of arrogance, wearing a Holland jersey and clogs, windmills in the background, Marco van Basten doing overheads,
in his back garden.
Steve McLaren as interpreter with a life-size.
We're on a tangent now, and I'm all in, right? But I think Marco van Basten should only be allowed on if his missus is standing like in the back garden and he's going, throw it up, and the audio's coming through and all. Like, so just as they're asking Slot a question, Van Basten's going, Lobber, go on, a bit higher than that for fuck's sake, you know what I mean, in the background. And he's just taking out head kicks at defence in the garden because he doesn't have a goal. No interest in football anymore.
So we've gathered it's a team job as to who gets hired and who gets fired, right? So who are you looking at? So what areas of the squad do we need to add to, and who are we expecting on the exit side? I will start off on this one. I would be expecting a centre back and another centre defensive minded centre midfielder alongside what we have, and potentially a replacement for whoever goes out. I think we lose 2 attacking players. Not saying forwards, I'm just saying I think we lose 2 attacking players over the course of the summer.
Okay. Yeah, Diaz will go.
You see, right, I agree with you. I think this is actually fallen into place quite well because with Matip and Thiago gone, right, and we're talking about, smooth transition and not rocking too many boats. You can bring 2 players in as a centre back and a defensive midfielder, and what's it doing? It's keeping the exact same numbers in the squad. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. That's what it's doing. Now, it might rock a boat with Ibrahim Konate or Curtis Jones or whoever, but that's life. Do you know what I mean? Like, we're not here to fucking please people. We're here to win games of football. And, then he has a decision to make on, and it was interesting, Pete mentioned earlier, like, coming from Feyenoord, you're not going to get the whole Ajax academy bullshit. Mm-hmm. But he has got decisions to make. He has decisions to make on the likes of Tyler Morton, Carvalho, both on loan at Hull. You have Calvin Ramsey, who was at Preston, I think, this season. Yeah. You have the likes of the lads that played through that League Cup. So you have the likes of Dan's. You have Bobby Clark. There's players there that he has to make decisions on. And listen, he's not going to rush into anything. He has the summer. He's going to have that during America, aren't he? This summer. So, I think it actually works out for him where it wouldn't be a massive thing where you're kind of going, oh, he's bringing in such and such, that means such and such is out. He's literally replacing 2 guys that were out of contract and left. On the forward line, I don't see an awful lot happening there. I genuinely don't. And I think people are going on about Diaz, right?
You go.
And the only other thing I know about Arne Slot is he loves out and out touchline wingers. And that's exactly what Luis Diaz is. Now, in order to love them, he put a massive faith in the guy that plays up front for them. I think it might be Martinez or something his name is. Scored an awful lot of goals from what I heard, he's an okay player, but he puts an awful lot on that player and his attacking kind of player from midfield or whatever. They're huge when they're getting into the box. So I'm not sure on Diaz. And I don't know why. Look, I know Phil doesn't like Diaz. And I know a lot of people, are going off what his dad's saying, but his dad's fucking mental. And the thing is, like, I actually think the 2 that might benefit massively from this is Luis Diaz and Darwin Nunez. Because I think he'd love to put a quick, physical striker down the middle, and Darwin Nunez fits that. So I don't see an awful lot happening forward-wise. Maybe one in. But I don't know about players coming out because, Gakpo's there, but Jota's had injuries. Salah's not getting any younger. There's an awful lot of scope for maybe bringing one in. Jimenez is the fella's name. Sorry, I said Martinez. So I don't think there'll be an awful lot of movement up front. That's just me.
Okay. Yeah. Listen, I think this is the joy of what we're talking about, because I think the decision would be a case of, if he wants, say I want touchline wingers and I want to do this, he's going to have to tell them what his plan is. When he's talking to Richard Hughes, and I'm sorry, when he's going to have to tell them, they've already gone through this in detail. Anything that's going on, like, we're so far behind the curve in terms of where these guys are in terms of their planning and stuff like that. Whatever signings we're going to make are probably so well advanced at this stage. It's just a case of finalising the deals. That takes the longest part of any deal system, as anyone knows. For me, look, I'm open to whatever decisions they make. I hope, and I genuinely hope, that they do keep the 4 cornerstones, which is what was put out there by a lot of the Liverpool writers, in Van Dijk, Trent, Salah, and I can't remember who the fourth one. Alisson. Right. So I hope that's what they're building around. Van Dijk's comments today were quite good. I saw something in the chat there. I can't remember who said it. Let me see. Where he likes to push the endurance, and Ashley says he's known for pushing the limits of endurance training and looking at untyped recovery strategies like microbiome testing. It's actually interesting because now you're bridging into the world of endurance sport, something that I probably have
Stick an engine on the players, boys. You don't test
stick
for
a
engines.
hidden engine in the legs, in the knees. I'll give them a phone number. I know a fella who can sort it out. But I think what's interesting is that the concept of endurance fitness is very different to what football is, and from an awful lot of the stuff I've read and watched and listened to around this, the guys who are the biggest speakers and the biggest talkers in this will explain that endurance is good for base in terms of base fitness building, which would be very different to what Klopp's pre-seasons would look like, right? Because you never get out of zone 2, the 5 heart zones, but you never get out of zone 2 when you're building an endurance base in terms of what's there. But that type of endurance training doesn't lend itself well to football because it's interval based. And one of the main coach in the Norwegian school of this type of training would be a very strong pro advocate of, sports based training modules so that the training matches the intensity and the type of intensity you have to put in, which then falls closer to what Klopp's type of physical piece would be done. So be interested to see the microbiome thing. You'll start seeing that it's going to become a huge thing in just general, in people in general day to day. It's really a feature of what's happened with ultra processed foods. And it's realizing that the more you get away from ultra processed foods, the more the body can manage and recover and get better at it. There's things like cherry juice that you'll see an awful lot of endurance athletes drinking after events because it improves. It's naturally anti-inflammatory and it reduces fatigue and it enhances
drinking that after the smoke.
Yeah, that's good move. But that's the type of stuff that I'm saying they're probably going to the next level with. And, they're going to take their markers from.
Go get out of the shop tomorrow.
But they're going to take it from long distance running. They're going to take it from all these type of elite sort of areas where recovery, particularly in triathlon world and stuff like that, where recovery is so important. When you've got such small windows between games as they go into much more games, I'd say so much the focus that teams have at the moment is really more on recovery than it is necessarily the preparation for the season. You get that done in a small block. The rest of it's all about recovery and fatigue and injury management. And it's got. I think that's the fascinating part of where this new structure, new setup is.
Can I ask you something? And I know you probably want to answer the previous question on who he brings in. I think it's fairly straightforward on a centre back and defensive midfielder, and then you can argue the toss over forward. But the biggest one for me when I was thinking about this over the weekend was just maybe a surprise exit. And Klopp's squad is built for a 4-3-3. There's no doubt about that. And I think that little change to a 4-2-3-1 changes the dynamic of those three behind the striker massively in how we play. Is that why I have that in my head about a possible surprise exit? Because
maybe
I'm not saying he's going to just like Pete said earlier, kind of redesign the wheel or anything like that. But when I look at that and I say to myself 4-2-3-1, that straight away I get all this kind of, that feels like they're wide midfielders rather than wingers. When I think of Salah or Diaz, maybe I'm wrong. Then I'm looking at midfielders that are 8s and can they play in the 6, and then the 8 is redundant because you end up with a sort of central attacking midfielder rather than one. It's you know what I mean? Like, do any of you have that in your head, or am I just completely off the bleeding wall with that?
No, I see what you're thinking, but I just think I wouldn't. We were talking about exits, and I think Phil's right, and a few of the lads in the chat. Diaz will go, and I don't think it's about football. And you're right, Gav. You made the point that this is the type of manager that he would excel under. But I think everything that happened and that's happened to his family and everything, he's going to want. He's going to, obviously he's getting his family out Colombian. He's going to want his father in a Spanish speaking country. People are talking about Barcelona have no money. Yeah, they've no money, of course, but they've players to bargain with. And as you know, like, they always get their way anyway. They'll get a loan. They'll unlock whatever bullshit that they're dealing with, and we might end up with a very young player and an experienced defender, maybe around how the centre back that they have, who is a big bargaining chip, who I would take. And I've seen him play in the flesh. The young fella is from Uruguay. He's a monster. I take him in part exchange, just him, and maybe a young fella coming up from La Masia. But Luis Diaz will come here. I mean, there's no listen. I have Colombian family. They will not live in the northwest of England. They just won't. It's like it'd be like living on the moon for them. They live here in Barcelona. There's lots of Colombianos here, and they'll be happy. He's gone, and it's nothing to do really with football. It's more to do with making his family happy. So he's gone. That's it. It's what comes in and how it comes in.
Why? Can I ask you why you're basing the fact that he's gone?
Because I'm married to a Colombian lady, and
Yeah,
I know
but you're
how
not married to Luis Diaz. Like,
I know, but I know how they are.
where's it come into your head that Luis Diaz will leave Liverpool?
Listen, I can't. You're right. I don't know him that well, but I do know human beings. And if my father was kidnapped, or your father was kidnapped, and you were a half a world away from doing anything about it, let alone being there, I wouldn't want to. I'd be waiting for it to happen again, and I'd be thinking, Colombians, especially of a certain age, like his father, they love their.
So you
No,
saying
let
here
me.
that
I'm going to answer your question. They need to be amongst their own people. There's a huge Colombian population here, huge, and they need to feel part of something. They can't. It's not about having a load of money in Manchester or Liverpool. It's about feeling part of something, regardless of how much money they have. That young fella's gone, no doubt.
So you're not basing on football. You're basing it around the fact of
Family,
what happened to his father and the support structures around him when it happened.
family. These people are all about rich. You even look at the girl who I'm not a fan of, that was married to PK. Whatever her name is.
Our hips don't lie. Yeah.
She has to be. She wants to be in Miami, where there's loads of Colombians. You know what I mean? I think she's from Barranquilla or somewhere like that. It's the minute her relationship broke down is she spends most of her time anyway, either in Colombia or in Miami, where there's Colombians. It's just the way they are. He's gone. He's gone in his head.
Archie Dillon says he wasn't kidnapped from Lime Street.
Listen, I'm not. He might stay. He might become a Liverpool legend. As Johnny Doyle as Pete Indy. No, I'm not. He might become a Liverpool legend, and he might score 100 goals to Liverpool. Whatever, guys. He might.
But come here, it still reminds me, and I can't let Luis Diaz chat pass throughout the night. That when the dad was going on the telly telling people Luis Diaz loved Barcelona, someone said, "How is he still in this country? Like, I'm not up on visa rules, but Jesus Christ, how we still got him here?" It was a real kind of desperation to will you show him up. Like, he just keeps talking about him leaving the club. Absolutely.
No, I don't want him to leave. I think. Do you know what? Like yourself, I think he'd be great. Absolutely chalk on his boots, destroying people.
Yeah. Someone did say though he's 28. He's I think he might have 2 years left on his deal, maybe, but he's 28, and a contract renewal maybe is in the works. And you go back to Hughes and you go back to the likes of all the other lads, Edwards and stuff. Where they go? 28. Maybe it's time to cash in, and that's where it goes.
I think it's unlikely he'll be. I think at that age, with a new crew in town,
that makes sense.
I think it's highly unlikely he will be renewed. And I think if they got the right offer, I think he'll go. I think if they don't get the right offer, given Slot's different type of tactical approach, he may well stay. That's why I think it's very hard to identify who's likely to go from it. And so when I go into it, I start more thinking about the Michael Edwards side of what this is. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Nobody will want to sell. Nobody will want to sell Nunez, and nobody in their right mind, because everybody knows you sell Nunez tomorrow, right, to whoever, he probably bangs in 30 goals for whoever he goes to. Nobody will want to sell.
But Pete, that can never come into your decision making piece. Like when I think of Nunez, if they wanted to let Nunez go, I'm open to what they want to do with any of the players, because
I'd be surprised if they let Nunez go. I think at the price they paid for him and the market value on him now, I think it doesn't make. Don't get me wrong. Listen, if Nunez was doing 30 goals in all competitions for 2 years and decides I'm Uruguayan and I want to go and live in Barcelona, then they go. Well, I tell you what, if someone will give us coffers up 120 million quid. and someone from Spain wants to cough up 120 million quid, we'll absolutely consider it. But right now, I don't think that he's 2 years into a 5-year deal. Do you know what I mean? It's not make or break on Darwin Nunez, and
He's not going
I
anywhere.
actually think he's one of the ones that they'll pull him through the middle, and they'll just make him a central striker, and they'll try giving chance after chance. But
Do you know why, Gav? Because you'd sell him, right? And then all of a sudden the club's on the hunt for somebody exactly like him. And you'd spend the rest of the summer going, hang on, they're looking at these three who are exactly like him. Why didn't they just keep him? Unless the young fella stamps his feet and is like, I've had a terrible year and the fans are all arseholes and I want to go. Do you know what I mean? I can't say. And plus, the young fella seems to be the type of young fella that wants to prove people wrong. And he has to. That's football. He has to. I can't see him going at all. I can just see him
it'll be a weird one for me if they've turned around and start ripping up the forward line. Do you know what I mean? And I know where Phil's coming from, 2 forward players rather than 2 attackers. Do you know what I mean? I can see that point. I really can. But
I think what's interesting though is we have when you were talking about numbers, random numbers in the number generator, and we're talking about formations. This takes me back to the conversations we had when Klopp came in for us, and everyone was convinced he's going to play a 4-2-3-1, and then he basically never played that formation in his whole time.
Not once.
yeah.
So I'm not going to be inclined to think that this is set in stone, and I think a part of that, you know, the narrative that was there about why they picked Slot is because he is an enhancer of players that are already there, right? So I don't think you're gonna have a summer of 60 million, 70 million signings. I think you'll have 2 to 3 to 4 signings like we have every summer under Klopp. I don't think this is a summer of upheaval. I think the
following year might be.
Yeah, I think the whole idea of disappointment is to avoid upheaval.
Yes.
It's all about microsurgery rather than open heart surgery, right? They did the open heart surgery last year because of what happened with the Saudi money. And I think even the guys looking in and coming in are saying, we really just need to chip away at the edges and add talent, ensure that our younger players that are coming through, either 1, are valuable to sell on, or 2, add value to the squad that we have so that they're good enough to be in the squad and replace the players that are there. And by that way, we develop and move on to what's going there. And I think that's the whole attraction to Slot. It's the style of football. It's not having to rip up your squad and start from scratch. And he's an enhancer of young talent in the club. And I think they're the 3 core pieces. And if I was him at my press conference, I wouldn't be like overtly saying this, but that's how I'd be driving the narrative and the agenda in the questions that are coming in. I'm an enhancer of players, right? My focus here is if this team has 85 points in it, I want to be the difference that gets them to 90 points. Do you know what I mean? Like that's the way I want to. I want to take the little things that were missing around the edges last year and use Jurgen Klopp's legacy to get that perfection that he would have achieved, because I know I can do this, but I'll do it in my way, right? I will do it that way. And that way, Steve, he shares perfection and it is going to work.
All this debate that's going on about what cost this. Listen, Darwin Nunez's bad finishing cost us the league. Simple.
No, not true.
Yeah. I think it's
not true.
I cannot say.
Right,
do you
want to rephrase that? Do you want to rephrase that? And I'll give you the opportunity to rephrase it. Do you think Darwin Nunez's bad finishing alone cost us the league?
No, not alone, but Gav,
okay. So Darwin Nunez's finishing.
It was the biggest contributing factor.
Not correct either.
Do I think he can put it right? Yeah. Do I think?
I think the biggest factor, the biggest single factor, Pete, and what happened to us in the second half of the season is our defensive frailties.
Yeah,
we'd 4 clean sheets in 2024.
But how many times did you look at those games and go, we should have won that game 6-2?
But how many times did you look at that game and you think we should have won that game 3-1? We didn't.
I don't know. The year we won the league by a streak.
I'm not telling you. I've done this so many times. Yeah, I know. I've done this so many times, though, right? And I'm not defending Darwin Nunez's finishing. I think he should have had more goals this season, right? But let me be honest with you, right? The way and this is a big thing that's in my head at the moment, looking after the ball and game management. Someone mentioned game management in the chat, and looking after the ball, right, is huge. Absolutely huge. And that's where we suffered this season. not looking after the ball and not managing games. And yes, fellas miss chances, right? He missed a load, right? And other people misses loads. You know, Luis Diaz misses 2 big ones at home to City and things like that. But defensively, if you tell me why Liverpool didn't win the league this season, I'll tell you, our finish wasn't good enough, right? In areas, without a shadow of a doubt. There's no point in arguing it. But defensively, we gave away so many soft goals where we were sloppy and it was all our own doing, giving balls away in the middle of midfield for no reason. You know what I mean? It
Couldn't defend a set piece.
It was just, and I actually think if you told me, and we'll probably finish up in a minute, but if you told me, Gav, in 24-25, Liverpool are going to look after the ball a bit better, I'll take it. Don't give me a guarantee on anything. Don't give me a guarantee on anything else. We scored 130 goals in all competitions last season, Pete.
Many we
130 goals in all competitions we scored.
In the Premier League,
we scored about 80 goals in the Premier League.
Arsenal outscored us, and I don't think they had anyone over 20 goals.
But Pete, well, I don't. So this is a euphemism. Goals win games, but defenses win leagues. Right,
100%. But when
and our defense, to me, our defense, and I'll go to Gav's point. We have never looked strong in transition since Fabinho's form fell off a cliff 3 seasons ago, right? And I think if he focuses on those in this one area that prevents and breaks up transition against us to prevent these goals, because I think a lot of teams towards the back end of the season realised the cheat code to getting at this team. And that was the space that was being left behind the fullbacks. And they spent an awful lot of time attacking that space. And initially, teams weren't good enough to do it. But as the season wore on, they became better. So I think if I'm Slot, like I'm looking at it, I'm going, right, here's the first thing I'm going to do. The first thing I'm going to do as head coach is to make this defensively more resilient and change the point of attack, right? At some of our best games was when we changed the point of attack. But once they figured out that Trent, or even Gomez when he was playing at right back, was going to tuck inside into midfield and the midfielder was going to drop in, they're going to go back into a back three and all that type of stuff, right? That space and that gap that was left in the space where the right back filled in, that became the exploitative space that teams went into and utilised it to score the goals. And look at so many of the games that we played in and look at where the ball either finishes, where it's finished from, or where the move starts from. It's always that critical area that became the weakness and the Achilles heel to what it was. And I did think that Klopp had run out of answers as to what he was going to do with that. And, you know, I was talking to Dave Thomas during the week. Both of us were in agreement on it that this was the right time for a change. Because I have Jerry's in the chat there and he's saying, thinking that we haven't won the league in 5 years and thinking this is about put your head in the stand stuff. I think the manager was big enough to say, I think this needs a fresh voice. And I think the club has seen it. But it doesn't mean that the players, that you have to freshen all the players, because the new voice and the new approach and the new methods and the new things, that can be the difference of 5 to 10 points. But it can go either way. It could be the difference of 5 to 10 points negatively, or it could be the difference of 5 to 10 points positively. And the club are going to bank on it being positive, but it could easily be negative as well. And that's without, if they didn't sign a single player or sell anyone and just had it, like, I'll tell you my surprise weakness, and this is the one, I'm going to finish on the thoughts for it is, but the thoughts that I have is that I think one of the surprise weaknesses we have in the squad, after all the time we've had with Klopp, right, is actually left back. I think Robertson has been diminished across the course of this season in terms of what we've had come to expect from him.
He's dislocated his shoulder, all that stuff.
I think Tsimikas is a good player in the Klopp world, but I don't know he's going to be a good player in this world. And I think when we're talking about defensive frailties, this is where you need to focus. We have 3 centre-backs in Kanate, Van Dijk, for Kwanzaa and Gomez, if you put Gomez into that mix, but I still think you need another one. And the centre mid, you could argue, now I'm not doing Michael Edwards or Richard Hughes' job, but do they see Bajcetic coming back in and being this, developmental defensive midfielder alongside? But I still think you need to get someone else Chimani, or not him, but I don't know the
Someone
names of these
dynamic.
up and coming
Someone
Yeah,
players.
dynamic.
But
you're looking for someone that's athletic, quick, really good on the ball. But you see, like some people I mentioned in the chat there with regards to Trent and the invert and stuff. I think that's been an unmitigated disaster. I think it papered over so many cracks in the last 10, 12 games of the season before, and I don't think it's worked this season. And I think actually by doing that, I think you're actually reducing what Trent is doing, and I actually think you're actually reducing what your left back does as well, because you're shaping your team completely and utterly changes, because your left back ends up being a third centre half, and that's not how we worked. But look, we've all said at the start, we don't know what this fella's going to do. We just thought we'd discuss it tonight and what we'd like to see from him, where he'd like to bring in players, what will leave. But you know what? Yeah, we're so behind the curve, as Phil said, and he's definitely had discussions with Richard Hughes or whoever else, the scouts and wherever else. He's definitely had those discussions, and
He knows what he wants.
Yeah, and the next step of that is going to be bringing them in. He's bringing them in a week early for pre-season training. Then you have got the Euros, then they're off to America, so he doesn't have an awful lot of time to do it. But again, I go back to it, the smoothest of transition from one era to the next. I think they've been massive on that. So going back to Phil's point, will there be a huge change? I don't think so. There might just be a change of how we approach keeping the ball, how we approach breaking down teams, how we approach not letting people run all over us. Not that he ran all over us. I think the amount of goals this season where I went, we just passed that to fucking him. We literally passed it to him 40 yards from our goal, and then just they done something and scored. Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? Like was it Villa away? And we have the ball. And next to all, we're just passing stuff inside and stupid passes. Yeah, stupid fucking passes. And you're like, just kick her up the pitch. You know what I mean? And we walk.
So in that game, how many chances did we have to put that game to bed?
Yeah, but in fairness, how many? If you watch the other end, like there's a defender at the other end for them who has an XG of 0.99 that he should score in Carlos, wasn't it, at the back post? And you're like, yeah. It was one of those games. It's actually one of those where I wouldn't.
The Palace game at Anfield, where I mean.
But the
it's almost like you're trying to find ways to miss chance.
Yes, but at the same time, if you look at the Palace game at Anfield, Virgil van Dijk falls over and Mateta is through on goal. Alisson makes a save from 2 yards out because the ball's just flung in the box, and Mateta 2 yards out. They all counteract each other. And I know when people say goals win games, titles win this, but they all have to be working in unison. And I always have the thing, if you're a defender and you make a mistake at the back, but your team are really good, you go, don't worry about it. Them lads up there are fucking lethal. But if you miss a chance at one end, you go, doesn't matter, we're 1-0 up. It doesn't matter I've missed that. Them at the back, they're deadly. And you need that unison. And it's just not there with Liverpool at the moment. And one is failing the other all the time. But, it was a good season. But let's see how we get
So let's keep the transfer targets to the next week and let Arne get his press conference underway, and we might have a better idea of what he's looking at, what he is looking at.
The actual press conference is going to be boring now, though, isn't it?
I was just going to say, it's going to be incredibly boring. If there's no Steve McLaren, no cutouts, no Van Basten, windmill, no orange T-shirt, clogs, right? What's the point?
Yeah.
You shares what is the point? Thanks, Steve. Thanks.
I just visions, it's just, I'm literally going to have visions now for Arne Slot's whole career at Liverpool of Steve McLaren just walking around behind him. I'm fucking talking into a dictaphone every time he talks, just recording what he's saying. But listen, we are where we are. Do you know?
Bad accents. Remember David Moyes had a dose of that at one stage as well?
No, I was only thinking about this the other day, right? And it's weird that you say that, but I've seen a player being linked with us from, I think he might actually be with Sociedad, a guy called Zubamendi, right? Right. But you remember years ago, Moyes went off to Sociedad, and there was a midfielder for Sociedad, and he hadn't a fucking breeze how to say his name.
Illarramendi,
yeah, right? And he was like, and he hadn't a fucking breeze how to say his name. And it was weird because it came up the other day and I seen Zubamendi and I went, remember Moyes couldn't say a man's name? And he was in the fucking press conference trying his best. It was like he was having a stroke. It was amazing. Carry on. But anyway,
Yeah,
best of luck to David Moyes wherever he ends up next. He's out the gap.
David Moyes,
is
Steve
in the corner.
McLaren translating for Arne Slot
Yeah.
that's the dream team, isn't it?
Yeah.
Joey Barton.
Yeah. Joey Barton just talking in a French accent in the backgroround.
Yeah.
Hating
Joey Barton
women.
translating
Hating
to
women.
French television, French
Yeah.
TV for what the press conference is.
Yeah.
Although some of the things he's coming out with lately.
Où le play de Georges de Pompidou?
Yeah.
Où le centre de Georges Pompidou's? Yeah.
Joey Barton just
stopped?
hating women in French accent. That's basically what he is now. Mad scene.
Trevor. Oh,
Anyway, can we go now?
Do you remember that pretty much? That famous scene from the 1998 World Cup where it was meant to be Frank Stapleton wandering around trying to do the stadium. They were doing their tour guides.
Sure.
So for anyone who watched Network 2, they used to do a tour guide to each city, what it was. And then that pretty much took the absolute hit out of miss. I'm sure you can find it. And it's meant to be Frank Stapleton. Your man had the wig on, and he was just wandering around. Anyway, le centre de Georges Pompidou. the locals are looking, going, who is this fella, right? And then he just turns and he goes, Trevor, oh Trevor.
Did any of you remember
Trevor Francis?
Do any of you remember like Frank Stapleton, right? When Ireland got to the World Cup in 1990 and Permanent TSB done a big fucking sponsorship of it. And all of a sudden Frank Stapleton started pronouncing all his T's correctly.
Yeah.
He literally went from it'd be great, it's just, and then he was like, what do you think of that, Frank? That is great.
That is great.
Permanent
it's great.
TSB.
Great.
Literally he changed overnight.
That's where the après match skit comes from. Do you see what you're talking about there?
Yeah, he constantly
they took that, and that's where the skit came from. Because I remember when it was on. Oh, what was it? It was Night Owl, and this is where the whole après match. This is where the Frank Stapleton thing started. Right when those advertisements started. Right, your man Barry Murphy. Not Barry Murphy, the other fella who does après match, right? He used to put an old shoebox on his head that was coloured in with pen, with black, right? As Frank Stapleton, right?
Yeah.
And he used to do interviews
he used to have
with Frank
the
Stapleton.
swimming hat on as Liam Brady, do you remember?
Yeah, but he used to have a box in his head as Frank Stapleton, and it's not on the best of après match, which drives me mad because I remember this as a kid. This going way back, this isn't 30 years ago, and it's like, and he's there going,
it's more than that.
Welcome along to my shows, and it's Frank Stapleton on the television.
It was
but he had
sensational.
the best one-liner ever. It was in there talk. I can't remember who's in it, but it goes, and I used to take penalties with my head. It's just like, to this day. Box on the head.
Restart
Cooper.
He says, Jerry, look, honestly,
I used to take penalties with my head.
Go and find an interview of Frank Stapleton pre-1990, right? And then listen to him post-1990 World Cup. And genuinely, the fella literally overnight decided, right, from now to the day I die, I'm going to pronounce every T correctly. It was mental.
In every word, even when it's meant to be a silent T, I'm going to pronounce the T just because the T is there, so I'm going to use the T's whenever I should be able to do it.
And if you haven't seen après match, type après match into YouTube, you get loads of it. It's fantastic.
There's so much incredible stuff.
Do you remember RTE used to love them that much that they used to let them present as après match for the third and fourth place playoff in the World Cup?
Third and fourth place playoff. Yeah. I used to feel sorry for them because like you can do a 5-10 minute skit ground, right?
Yeah.
When you're trying to fill in, do the halftime coverage and everything else, it's so hard. It's so hard
they
to
were
keep
good
that
at
going
it.
because it's
They were good at it.
Yeah.
Right, can we go now?
We can go. Just before we go, so fundraisers in the link down below here, right? It is for the Lighthouse and it's also fan support and food banks, especially at the food banks thing. The Lighthouse, it's really important now. The football is over, so all the national stuff that goes on, it needs it more than it normally would do at this point in time for us to focus on. I know the Lighthouse always needs to help in terms of what's going on out there, and we've a massive homeless problem both across Europe, globally across the world. So everything that can help out really helps out, and that's where the money's going. It's been split 50-50. The folks get the 10 grand, which I know Gav we're working hard to get there. And what I want is, as I said to you, and I'll do it with my own thing as well, please get the word out there. Even if you've donated, thank you so much, but just get the word out there, because the more you can spread it by mouth, the more we get the small donations. The €2, the €5, the €10, they add up, they make the difference, they get us from here to here, gets us above sea level in terms of what's there. If
nice Dutch
10,000
reference there.
Yeah, if
Sea
10,000
level
people,
stuff, like it.
if 10,000 people gave us €1 each, job bang done, all done,
Wow.
right?
Serious maths there, Phil.
Do you like it? Did you?
We're trying to raise 10,000,
I was working
and if
on my maths
10,000 of you
at the
give us
weekend.
€1 each, we'd have 10,000.
I had my box in my head at the
Absolute
weekend.
busy at maths. Jesus Christ.
And then in the other half of that is there's separately I'm doing my challenge for
Can I just talk about this? What he's doing is mad, right? He's 46 years of age or something. 7. It was his birthday last week. Happy birthday. But it's actually mind blowing what he's doing at 47. And like, I've known Phil, I don't know how many years now, right? And it's like, my knees are gone, couldn't stand in goal. Like, never mind jump, he couldn't stand in goal about fucking 6 years ago. He used to go, I'm on a comeback, I'm after buying new socks and boots. And then about 3 weeks later, now I'm fucked. I need 2 new knees. And now he's literally cycling and running kayak and doing all this. It's for Laura Lynn. Laura Lynn is a children's hospice. It's an incredible place, you know, that nobody wants to use, but a lot of people do have to use in very kind of harrowing circumstances.
Circumstances.
Yeah, really the toughest possibly of circumstances. So I said it a couple of weeks ago, I'm saying it now, Phil's right, the football's over now, so fans supporting field banks, like literally all that traffic every week at Anfield and Goodison is gone now for 3 months. So we really need to help them. The whole homeless thing in Dublin and stuff like that. And the Lighthouse not only help in Dublin, they help all over the country.
Yeah.
So doing them. And the Laura Lynn stuff, it's an incredible place to help. So I've said it before and I'll say it again. We're committed to $5,000 each for all of this. Doesn't matter how long it takes. I don't give a fuck how long it takes. We're committed to $5,000 each because it makes a huge difference. So the link is in the description. Donate if you can. If not, take the links and just send them around to people. Tell them what it's about. Mm-hmm. Tell them you listen to a podcast. They're muppets on this podcast, but they're trying their best and get people to help out. And if I always say, if you send that to 10 people and one person donates, and that person sends it on to 10 and one person donates, all of a sudden 3 people have donated very quickly. Yeah. And more people have known about it. So that's where we are with that.
Just the one last thing, because don't know what our situation is next week because it's a bank holiday Monday, Gav. So I don't know if we're on or if we're not on.
We'll be very drunk at the time, I'd say.
Yeah, I won't be. But however, right, listen, the Wicklow 200 is not next Sunday; it's the following Sunday. So anyone that's based in Ireland, if you live along the route in Wicklow, just type into Google, you find out where it is, right? Mm-hmm. Come out and say hello to me, right? Because I'm going to be going as quick as I can, which won't be that quick now. I did 173.61 to be the world record holder of that distance, right? It wasn't intentional. It was meant to be 150, but they closed the road when I got to 96 kilometres and I realised I had to cycle all the way back to the way I came.
Yeah, right? Okay.
I genuinely, it was the moment in my life where I nearly cried. I was like, because I said to the policeman who had closed the road off because the superintendent wouldn't let him down because there'd been a bad crash on the road. I said, please tell me there's another way to get me back to Sally Gap. And he was like, yeah, if you go back. And I was like, then I said, look, that's exactly the direction I just came. Like, I came literally every road to tell me to, all right, no, there's no other way. Yeah. And that was when it crushed me because I didn't have enough gelled food with me or anything like that to get through it. So I was genuinely, I was a broken man, but it made me know that I can do the 200k. So that's the most important thing. So if you're out on the route in Wicklow, let me know, scream at me. I'll give you a wave. I'll even take a selfie with you.
Best thing to do is look at the route. See what pubs are going past. Pick a boozer. And then just stand outside having a few points and wait for Phil to go by. And when he goes by, you just go like this. Make a noise and go past. Really legend.
But if you are along the route and you do, give me a shout. We'll take a selfie and we'll collect all the selfies and throw them up in terms of what's there, right? So in terms of, so I should have a total of 0 selfies on the way around because I know none of you. You all live in England, so it's wrong. But if you want to come over to Wicklow, I can tell you the names of a lot of pubs along the route.
No, so you send me the link to the race because I might go down on the Sunday after.
I will. I'll send you the link to the race. In terms of this, so the focus is so people. I'm aiming at 8.5 hours, right? That includes tea breaks. I'm going to do a bit of cricket on this. There's 2 food stops, so I might actually stop for a coffee at one of them, right? So it's because I'm not actually going to win it. I'm not Lance Armstrong yet. So that's the thing. 8.5 hours for 200 kilometers, 201.342 kilometers. Will be a world record coming in check.
I'll book I'll book out UCD for the world record
Do what again?
transmission. Yeah. Down to you, UCD.
Right. That's been Arne Slot. Just remember, press conference, orange t-shirt, clogs, windmills, Marco van Basten, Steve McLaren translating, and a life-size picture of Terry Venables just putting the head in with the hand in to giving us one of those ones, right? And then we're good to go. We'll win the league. That's what it is. And we could have talked rubbish about everything that went on, but it didn't. We chose this one instead. That's been the show tonight. With me brilliantly has, of course, been my mate Gav, and on this side is Pete. You see, I'm really good at this stuff when I put my mind to it. And
that maths just blew me away there 5 minutes ago.
Still that's the. It's brilliant, isn't it? I really am good at this stuff when I put my mind to it. But that's the crack. That's been the show. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll talk to you all during the week. Hit the button, Gav.
Hit the button. Okay, sorry.
No bother.